also a end of program celebration. And yeah, we're really excited to see you guys all here. So our event today is called Rising to the Occasion, where we kind of want to collaborate with our wider London community with the lovely Ray from Occasians over here. Round of applause for Ray. And we thought it would be nice to kind of partner together to bring an event together that really celebrates all the culture in our community and really shout about our own voices, because I think as Asian people, we can be very humble, and I don't think that should be the case moving forward. We need to shout about all of our wins, all of our achievements, so that little people like my nieces and nephews can have role models to look up to, which you will see my nieces and nephews on the big screen there in a second. So yes, this work here is actually done by one of our mentees, Yija. Round of applause for Yija. Woo! She's over there. And if you want to tag us in any content, that would be super helpful, just so we can put on more events like this. We really appreciate it. All of our tags and handles are here. And yes, let's get going. So I've talked a bit about Make the Jump already, but I'll leave it to Ray to chat a bit more about Occasians, and then we'll get to our first panel.
There you go. Everyone give it up for Sydney. Yeah, honestly, she's done so much great work with Make the Jump. It's been incredibly impressive seeing the amount of organisation that she's done with the whole platform and this event. It's all her. So one more time, just one more big applause for Sydney, everyone. So who here has gone to a Occasians event before? That's most of the room. Cool. So yeah, as most of you already know, Occasians is a collective of Asian creatives and artists run by Asian creatives and artists. And it was just something that I set up kind of out of frustration a couple of years ago, because I just felt like there wasn't much of a platform for creative Asians here in the UK, despite there being, a lot of us. And we put on networking events, we put on workshops, we work with brands, trying to help bring more representation for Asians within the creative and artistic space. So yeah, that's us.
Cool. Right, now we've got our lovely panel. Can we have a round of applause for our lovely panelists? Do you guys want to make your way to the stage? By day, I am a talent manager at a multi-award-winning agency called SHFT. One of our amazing creators is actually here today. Paolo, if you want to give everyone a wave. There we go. But yeah, so this is what I do during the day, and I started Make the Jump because oftentimes I go to different marketing events, work with brands and stuff, and again, I'm often the only Asian person in the room, which is why I was also really passionate about signing more people with the same background as me. I'm Filipino, very proud Filipino, and yes, that is me. And then we've got Ray.
Awesome. So alongside being the founder of Occasians, I'm also a filmmaker and director and content creator. I started making YouTube videos when I was 12 years old. I'm no longer 12, but yeah, it's been a long time. Like over half of my life, I've been making videos, silly videos on the internet. Somehow made it a career, despite my mum's concerns. But yeah, that's me.
Hi, I'm Nicole. I am a writer, a podcaster, and a content creator. I started my blog back in 2017. Remember those? I feel like that really ages me in this room. But I'm really excited to speak to you. Oh, also, I'm Ghanaian and Filipino. So big up Blasians, I'm not passing this down.
Hey everyone, my name is Lane, and born and raised in China, so solid Chinese. And I'm currently working at Buttermilk as a senior creator executive. And I work with basically creators from all over the world. And that's about me. Thank you.
Woo!
So, what's good, guys? I'm John. I work for a company called the Supplier. We work with brands like Adidas, Nike, Uniqlo, ASOS, a whole bunch. But I'm a full Filipino from East London. Anyone from Newham here, big ups. But yeah, hopefully we're going to be doing some great knowledge today. just dropping some great knowledge for some great people in here today.
Thank you, John. Oh, so excited. Sweet. So I think the first question I'm going to address to everyone was, what was the turning point in your career that helped you make the jump and go in a creative direction? Anyone?
I can start. This may not be that exciting, but I was working in a corporation for several years, and 5 years to be exact, and then I got made redundant. So that was the point for me where I decided that I wanted to start my blog. I literally just opened up WordPress and started writing because I didn't have anything else to do at the time. I was job hunting. And at that time I was like big into YouTube as well. I was just like watching all of these other creatives and creators and was like, well, I need an outlet to kind of put my stuff out into the world. And just kind of went from there. That was the big turning point for me.
What was your blog about?
Fashion.
Love that.
I think I'll go for that one. But for anyone that wanted history in terms of like how I got into the Soul Supplier, I started as a production assistant for them. And one of the ways that I felt like I really made the jump was I actually started my work when COVID started. So when everyone ended up having to work from home, I was just a month in from being hired. So I was just like, well, I'm going to end up losing my job because if I'm going to be able to make content on shoes, I need the shoes and I'm not getting the shoes. But honestly, from that situation, just being able to find avenues and ways to be able to create content regardless of any difficulty or situation, to get the creativity to be able to produce content without product. I ended up doing a lot of motion graphic kind of just like edits without like using any kind of product, and then it ended up spiraling into, oh wait, he's providing more value compared to anything else that we've done before. So being able to create the jump from there just led to where I've grown into now. So that's one of the ways.
Yeah. And off the back of that, similar thing for me, I was working for Stylist magazine when COVID hit, and I was on a contract, and obviously everybody was sent home. So that was quite honestly the point where I was like, oh, I'm doing this full time. This isn't like my full time gig. I don't know. I got into the headspace of like, the job that I dreamed of doing isn't officially my job now. And I just kind of laser focused in on that and started creating content from home. I think so many of us, are familiar with that. And I think has been a major turning point for a lot of people. But I think it really did teach us that like, you don't need to rely on traditional ways of working in order to make your dreams happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to share a little bit experience from my side. So when I actually started like social media, before I was actually studied broadcast journalism. So that is like total like traditional media perspective. But after that, I was thinking like after I graduated from my bachelor degree, I was thinking like, should I move to the UK or should I like stay in China, or what's the point? Like it's totally like a big decision. But after that, I'm thinking like, when people are thinking when is the right time to make the jump, stop just waiting for the perfect time or the perfect opportunity coming through, because like as long as you got the mentality that moment, that is the perfect moment to make the jump. Yeah.
Wow. This is where I feel really fortunate to be able to say this, but I've just been, since I was a kid, when I was 12, making silly videos on YouTube. Like there wasn't one moment where I was like, this is a career now. Yeah, I feel really grateful in that, like when I started doing silly little comedy sketches in my bedroom, it went from that to linking up with people in the community who were also like, back then, I'm talking back to like, this is around like 2010 time, long time ago. Back then, there weren't like brand sponsorships. There was no Grammarly. There was no Squarespace to sponsor content creators. So if you were making stuff regularly on YouTube, you were probably like you were just a nerd, probably, who loved making videos because there was no way to make money off of it at that time. So I was one of them. I just networked with them. I met a lot of creatives, like other like vloggers and filmmakers, but also musicians, actors. And when I started getting known within that space, when I was like 15, they started like hiring me to, like, I'd shoot like concerts, I'd shoot events they were running. Just like having that wide pool of creatives just did a lot for me. But what was wild about it was just knowing, there wasn't a moment where it was like, this is a career. It was just like, you know, I'm a kid making money off of this. Obviously at the start it wasn't big. So I guess for me, the jump was quite a long running jump for many years. Maybe long jump. I made the long jump from like 12 to about 18. And then at 18, that's when I was like, oh, I don't know any other life. I might as well just keep running with this. But yeah.
No, amazing. Before I ask my next question, I forgot to mention the top right corner, there is a QR code, and that is for anyone that we'll have a Q&A at the end, but that's for anyone that doesn't feel comfortable raising their hand to ask a question. So that gives everyone the opportunity to ask any of our panelists whatever they want. So feel free to ask throughout the session, and then at the end when we get to the Q&A, we'll go from there. And the Wi-Fi, thank you, Ray. Artotel Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi, 2 seconds to set up. But yeah, so we've talked about your career trajectories a little bit. I'm going to skip a question and ask you guys, is there any particular skills that you think that you developed or would be useful for young people or maybe people switching careers, whether that's soft skills or hard skills? What do you think is good for people to kind of work on to ensure that they can make the most of opportunities when they come to them?
I'll go for it. I just got the answer, straight away. One of the skills I think is quite important, like working in the influencer marketing industry, especially because that's where I'm coming from. So I think this kind of mindset actually really helped me to develop my skills, not only as Asian, but also professionally, personally, which is all the time stay curious, like forever learner, because you don't know, like, for example, when there's a campaign brief coming through, like we have at least like 20 people behind the scene to work with creators, strategists, or like content production and client service and all these things. But when there's like one issue be raised by clients, we like probably 20 of us, we have like 20 different ways to deal with the same problems or like the same issue. So all the time I'm trying to learn from everyone and think about like what is the best way to solve different things and what is the best kind of like scenario for specific situation, especially it's like for example some like a tricky situation. But also a second thing is I think is very, very important, which is like really need to stay agile in terms of like working with any type of like creators or like brands or whatever, because sometimes the client's just thinking maybe working with like influencers or like creators is just kind of like a fun project, but actually we are real people. We have our emotions, we have our kind of like mentalities. We want to input our creativity in our strategy, in our like daily life as well. So really focus on like what you're really, really looking for, and also stay curious about what you're doing. Yeah.
Amazing. Anyone? Does anyone want me to repeat the question? Yes. Yeah. So it was, what skills do you think, but based on your kind of experiences, what skills did you have to develop in order to take the next step?
So for me, like continuing kind of what I said earlier about how I was a kid just having fun with a camera, and then one day I just started getting paid for it, and it took me genuinely many years of it being my sole income for me to learn that, I have to be able to, put value to my work, to treat it like the work, I've kind of, after all these years, I've kind of accepted that I'm not ever going to be like a business first kind of mindset guy. I'm not a business person. I'm an artist. But again, you've got to be able to put value to yourself and to your work and know your worth. It took me like years just to be able to not look at the current industry rates and not charge that, just because I'd be like, anyone can look at their work and just nitpick and look at all the things that are bad about it, and think I'm just starting out. I've only been doing it for a couple of years. I don't have this. I can't do that. I'm not qualified. I don't have a degree. But you've got to be able to make it sustainable, or else you can't do what you love as your job. So yeah, like if there was one thing I could go back and tell my younger self, it would be 100% put a little bit more of like business mindset on, like put on a business hat, look at how people are pricing, don't compare yourself to them, and price accordingly.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I think off the back of that, I think as a Black woman, as an Asian woman, it's so much about being fearless and like being relentless in the things that you are going after, and how you, like you're saying, how you price yourself, how you negotiate, because so many of the rooms that I've walked into, so many of the people who have kind of entered into my inbox, I think a lot of the approach is like, I'm supposed to be grateful that I'm even being asked to do something. And yeah, over the years, I've really grown to learn that, especially now in 2025, it's like we are all our own brands, our own businesses. We all have something to offer. This is a collaboration, and not in the way that people are like, do you want to collab? In the way that like, there's a mutually beneficial partnership at play, and it's worth money, and it's valuable. So I think the skill in particular that I learned over the years was negotiation for sure. Was being able to, and it's not necessarily monetary, but being able to say like, okay, this is how much I value myself, and even in moments where I agree to work for free, I'm like, I know that I'm offering something that's going to be useful for people. So that's why I want to put myself in that particular place, or align myself with that particular brand or agency. So yeah.
And I think lastly on my side, it's always valuable to understand your why. And I feel like in a place where passion sometimes doesn't match being able to pay for your livelihood sometimes, there was a point before, I'm in a very privileged position now, but being able to do the content that you want and being consistent on it, regardless of what the payoff was at the start, because you never really know who's watching or what you do. And I really feel like being able to stay consistent with the work rate that you have, the attention and everything that else comes with it after that will always come. And I feel like there's someone in the room who I really envisions that. Paolo right here. He's been doing Know Your Why and like everything with it, like years before all of the international fame he has now. I really big up this guy now. But honestly, it's just like, everyone's time comes when you put the right work ethic into it. And I think that's just something that you need a reminder for every time, because you sometimes get lost in the madness sometimes, I guess. And that's something that I want as a good reminder for people.
Amazing. No, I think all really brilliant points. And I think something that I would love to explore is when you were going through those kind of learnings, I'd say, are there any particular people in your community, or linking back to what Make the Jump does with mentorship, is that something that you had or something that you wish you had during those times that could help you learn how to navigate them?
Yeah, like I don't really have just one like I think with filmmaking specifically, like, you know, filmmaking is a relatively new art form compared to a lot of other art forms. Like a lot of what filmmaking is now has been developed in the last 100 years. And it's a very collaborative art form by its own nature. So like just being, you know, going throughout school, I had so many like really passionate teachers who I'm really thankful for, who saw passion in me and, you know, would take the time to teach me the craft, help me get opportunities. And, you know, I've worked with so many great directors and cinematographers, DPs that I've learned a lot from over the years. And I think it's just about having, especially in my craft, it's just about having that openness to learn from different people. Like with any kind of art form, you're going to see a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different ways of working. And it's just about being open to listening to everything, picking what you like, picking what you don't like, but more importantly, trying a little bit of everything. Have I gone off the question? What was the question again?
The question was, how has mentorship or community helped you with when you were navigating?
Right. Yeah. So like, yeah, it's been absolutely everything for me. Like it's always been. I find like a lot of my best work is when it is collaborative, and I don't like working with the same people every time. Like I have DPs who I really enjoy working with as a director on commercial projects, but I don't bring them onto absolutely everything I work with. I think that's a very narrow-minded way of working. I like working with new people almost every time. And yeah, and it helps me develop, helps them develop, and just keeps things interesting.
Yeah, like community has been everything for me in terms of, again, knowledge, contacts, you know, all of those things. I think coming into spaces like, for example, publishing. Like I published a book last summer with it came out with HarperCollins, and that was a world that I knew absolutely nothing about. And if you know anything about publishing books, you'll know that there are a very select few people in that space who will want to help you and like want to open doors for you. Same with podcasting. Didn't know a thing about editing. Didn't know a thing about uploading. I didn't know what platforms to use. I didn't know anything. And so, yeah, for me, it was very much like leaning on friends and like colleagues in the space, putting out call outs. And like, I think that's the great thing about existing in an age where like we have all this incredible like knowledge and like all these amazing people out there who do so much incredible work. Like they are willing to help you and connect you. And, yeah, it's just not being afraid to ask and like ask friends or, you know, family or whoever, even people online that I don't know and I've seen have do cool things. Like they're willing to share, which has been really, really beneficial to me over the years, for sure.
I wanted to develop on Nicole's point where resources in abundance in the social media era, and two Asian creators who I really look up to, Gakuyen and OMG Adrian, are both really great creators in terms of just being able to show not just their craft, but how they're able to do it. And I feel if you never really felt like there was a mentor within your space, social media can be your teacher if you know how to utilize it like incredibly well. And there's just infinite resource for you to be able to kind of just imagine whatever you want to create. And I think we're at the stage now as well where even if you wanted to be a budding filmmaker, it doesn't have to be something that breaks your bank anymore. Like 4K cameras literally exist within your phone. But even then, like being able to get a startup or intermediate cameras, it's very realistic as long as you set your mind to it. And yeah, you just need to take it from there.
That's actually exactly what I did. I just used social media. So when I actually first time started thinking about my career, because that time there's like no any Asian in my industry from what I know. And especially like when I first time started my first role as a junior strategist in another agency, it is also an influencer marketing agency. There's no Asian in the company. like even like not at all, even like heritagely, there's no people. Like when I try to understand like, okay, how Asian can survive in this kind of like a bit kind of a Western type of agency, and I just feel like there's even no one gonna understand me. So that time I did realize that the power of community and also social media. So what I did actually, I just like search lots of resources, like find lots of like good resources on social media, but also start build up my network. And also I learned so many things from like different professionals from different departments. Then it just like really came up like this kind of ideas, like if there's no community or if there's no opportunity for Asian, I will need to create by my own. And now that's why I'm here, because when I joined my second company, which is Buttermilk, there's no Asian again. And I just figured out like where those Asian coming from. Like, come on, we need some people, you know. So after that, I consistently build up my voice in the company, and now we have at least like 6 to 7 Asians in the company, including like interns and all the people. And so I really just to see like when you see the community or when you see any opportunity, if there's no chance there, you are the person create the opportunity for other people. So after that, you can see the power of a community. You start bringing impact not only in the industry but also even in their personal life, because I've built a lot of confidence to some of my Asian peers. Like for example, some of them, they say, I really want to shout out myself, but you know, in our Asian culture we don't usually speak out about myself. So that time I just encourage them, if that's what you did and you own the 100% credibility, you own the 100% like your like achievement. So there's no point like we need to hold back. If it's a time for you, it is the time for you, you know? So I really want to see our Asian community keep expanding, but also don't think about like any kind of like self-doubt or anything just because there are not a lot of people in your company or in the industry. It is our time to shine. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
I love that. Thanks, Lynn. I think that also shows like me and Lynn met because she messaged me on Instagram. We went for a dinner. We became besties overnight. And then, I think it was really nice to also hear firsthand like how much Lynn has impacted the team and the culture. And especially, Lynn hasn't shouted about it, but she works with incredible brands such as Prada. Who else do you work with, Lynn?
So in the beginning, I worked with some like pet companies, but after that, at Buttermilk, I work with Armani Beauty, Prada Beauty, and also Valentino Beauty, a lot of beauty, you know, and there's a lot of beauty brands where like, yeah, I'm just a girl doing like a beauty content, you know, and after that, I worked on some like electrolyzed brands. I don't know if you guys heard about Liquid IV, so that's one of my clients as well.
Is this what we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, Liquid IV. And also, I also worked on some like Middle East markets campaign, which is more kind of like in-person event campaign. So I did participated last year around December for that Tyson Fury fight. So I flew to Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, in charge of all the influencer and celebrities like to attend that event. So I worked with like, I don't know if you guys heard about like your boy Moyo or who else, like I think it's that Josh Ryan. And just a lot of other like creators, and they had really nice experience there. And also I enjoy some Middle Eastern foods. It's very nice. Yeah, so that's just like a few projects I'm working on at this moment. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, what I'm going to do now, because I think it's time for Q&A soon, because we ran on a bit on Filipino time today, guys. I do apologise.
Just ethnic time.
Just we've done our best.
Too many time zones in the room.
Too many time zones in the room is correct. What I do want to ask is, there's a lot of people in the room that are either in creative careers, starting one, or transitioning. I would love for you to quickly shout about, one, what is your favourite career highlight, just to highlight to them what's possible. And then two, is there anything specific that, like, one word of advice that you would give back to people in the room? And then we'll go to Q&A.
Gosh. It's really hard to pick just one moment in my career, but the one that came to my head as you asked that question, I don't know why. I directed an advert for Purcell 2 years ago. It really wasn't creatively fulfilling. I found it really boring to do. I don't see myself above it. Like, you kind of do what you have to do. But it's one of those things, like, for a lot of these kind of TV adverts, like you've all seen detergent adverts, I'm sure. It's all the same thing every time. The clothes are dirty, they're frowning, they throw it in the washing machine, it cuts to an animation that the director's not involved with at all, and you see like the germ particles get destroyed. Like all of that is kind of set in stone when the director comes on, and the director is basically just a manager in those situations. I just work with the talent and make sure they look good on camera. But for my entire career, my mum has been really, really disapproving. I didn't mention at the start, like everyone else did, but I'm also Filipino, half British. My mum's Filipino, and she has hated my career ever since I was on YouTube. In like 2006, she'd always warned me about all the paedophiles out there who can snatch me up through the screen. It was pretty tough, and even when I decided to go to film school and not study medicine, she didn't talk to me for like 6-7 months at all. We had no contact. I remember she told me the day I left. She told me I have no son. Yeah, it was serious. It was really serious. And I thought, like, this is it. I've lost my family to pursue this career. What have I done? But then we started talking again, and a few years later, this thing comes along, this Purcell advert, and like, we're going through one of the meetings, and then they said their talent's dropped out. They don't need someone, like, they don't need, like, for these kind of things, they don't need a professional actor a lot of the time. They just get someone who looks good. So sometimes they just get a model. And they looked at me in the meeting and they were like, where are you from? Because we really need someone around 45 plus, like an ethnic talent, preferably female. And I was just like, you asking if I know anyone? And I was just like, what's the budget? It wasn't great. For a Purcell advert, you think it would be decent, but it wasn't. It wasn't great. And then I was just like, well, I can ask around. So I called my mum, and she was at first really hesitant. She's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be stupid. I don't get laughed at by the whole nation on television. But she agreed in the end, and she loved it. The thing that she loved the most was the food. Like, if you've ever been on a film set, especially if you're like the talent, like, she's the only talent in the whole shoot. So like after every shot, a runner would run over to her and ask her if she wants water, and every time she'd look at me and just be like, wow, I'm a celebrity. And like, I remember she got first dibs at the shitty little buffet that they set up. They had like a Subway platter set up in the corner of the room, and they let my mum have first dibs. And she went over and she grabbed like 4 sandwiches and put 3 of them in her bag. But yeah, that sorry for the long-winded story, but that's probably the proudest moment in my career.
Big up Ray's mom.
I don't think I can follow your mom like that. That's really heartwarming. I love it. Whoa, yeah. So I mentioned that I published my book last year. It's called The Half of It. It's about exploring mixed race identity. It came through my podcast, which is also about being mixed, which is called Mixed Up. So those 2 things have kind of been the real joy and highlight of my career thus far. I also spoke in Parliament about the Creator Union, which is something that I'm really still working really hard on to get off the ground. But it is essentially looking into the influencer and creator industry, and they wanted me to give evidence, essentially showing that how most of the work that we do is unpaid. So that was that was interesting. but yeah, I guess in terms of like a more emotional highlight was doing the book tour this year, and one of the events that I did was in Carnegie Library, which is in South London near, can't remember where, but if you live in South London, you'll probably know. And it was in that space where it was so many people who came out to listen to us talk and talk about the book and talk about being mixed, and people who were like 80 years old who had never spoken about it before, never had a place to speak about it, all the way to, you know, young parents with their kids who were mixed and wanted to kind of prepare for different conversations. So that in particular was just, it was really touching and really heartwarming to see that, you know, it was something that could touch so many different people in terms of age, in terms of mix, in terms of, all different races. So that was it for me.
Where can we find your book?
It is available in all good bookstores. I wouldn't encourage you to buy it on Amazon, but if you must, you can buy it there. But also, you know, Waterstones, bookshop.org, Foyles, your local independents, all of them.
Thanks.
My career highlight, actually I have a lot, so let me pick one. This is probably not about like influencer marketing, even I work in this industry at this moment, but I think one of the highlights I did is around like early, I think beginning of the COVID, I can't remember which year is that, or maybe 2020 maybe, yeah, it's that long time ago, you know, we're 2025 now, how come? Like 5 years now. So like in the beginning of 2020, I think as the Asian community, I'm not sure if you guys faced this kind of situation before, but I did actually almost got attacked on the street just because I'm an Asian on the street. So I think during pandemic period, especially the beginning of COVID, like the Asian community got a lot of hate because of the current situation. Because of the situation that happened that period, you know. So what I did is I worked with CGTN and I did a small mini protest in front of Trafalgar Square. So what I really did is like I just like standing there holding a paper and asking people, do you actually want to give me a hug? Is that because of my Asian, or do you think if you hug me you will get the virus? So after that, like we got a lot of like positive comments on the paper, but also on social media, like you really stand for your Asian community, but also bring the impact about like we're coming here for our life. We're not coming here to like bring negative to another country, you know. So that can be one of the highlights in my career. But another thing is like, you know, when I'm working on another beauty brand, so I made their lip balm sold out in Sephora, but in the US market. So that's another kind of like a small highlight. And I actually want to, I think the last question we want to give like a one word.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, can I give it one sentence?
Oh, no, yeah, one piece of advice. Yeah, just one word.
Yeah, so because I'm working in the influencer marketing industry, so I really, really want to utilize this kind of like other community to really share some insights to creators if you start your early career in terms of creating content. Like, I think negotiating is very, very important. I think like you mentioned that as well, like because from our side we actually work with lots of creators and we really love their content, but it looks like when they give us their price, we really shocked, like how come you can price yourself like that? So it's not like a negative thing, but we can see like some of the creator, like when you start your creating journey, it seems like there's no a very kind of like price that actually value yourself. So I really want to utilize our community to share more insights, especially like if your rate is need to be based on your following or based on your content production or based on your like maybe your views or your average views, because like every social media platforms you need to have like different kind of price for each like social media platform. So I think Make the Jump really like connect with lots of like Asian and like in the UK or all over the world. So let's just utilize this opportunity to connect with each other and also share some insights about how we can make creator industry more like value the creators, but also like put yourself there to understand like we coming here to create, not only create the content, but also we create some impact as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Lynn.
I think one of my career highlights, when I went over to the Philippines, I kind of went on this sneaker pilgrimage, which sounds so nerdy, but let me land here. There's a pair of shoes that were exclusively released in the Philippines called the Jordan 4 Manillas. There's only 150 of them in the world. And luckily I was able to see one of them in one of the resale shops over there. Funny enough, fast forward a little bit, that shoe actually ended up getting bought within a few hours because I circled the neighborhood, came back and they told me that someone actually bought the shoes. And when the staff told the story to the person that someone was nerding out about these earlier, they were like, oh, wait, the Soul Supplier guy in Philippines. Like, I feel only a sense of relevance when I'm in the UK, but knowing that someone in the other side of the world who isn't my tito or tita is watching and being able to, like, see that person, they were like, bro, can I take a picture with you? Like, you're from the other side of the world, but you know the work that I create. And I think being able to create an impact for people who aren't from like the same ends that you're from here in London, and they still create, like, they still appreciate your content, that was really like a motivation for me to be able to keep going and doing what I want to do, to the point that I want to be able to get that kind of interaction wherever I go in the world. And then one piece of advice that I want to bring to you guys is never feel that rejection will be the like be all and or end all of any opportunity that you may get, because sometimes timing just isn't right, budget isn't there, but there's always going to be, with the right mindset, something will click with it. And like, I do have some things in motion myself with Nike that I don't want to speak on now because it might not go into existence, but being able to stay laser focused on the things that you want to do, you're definitely going to be able to achieve them. It's not about if, it's when. And I think that's when it goes bars, whoever said that. But yeah, that's me.
Thank you, guys. Cool. So I've got a couple questions from Slido. We have, I'm gonna say 3 minutes. So if we can do quick fire round, that would be sick. First one is for John. Who's got the best shoes in the room?
Obviously me. But I haven't really looked at everyone's in the room, but I have supplied one person's, which Ray's actually wearing a pair that I've given to him. So yeah, that's pretty cool as well. But I'll have a little inspection because I haven't actually looked at everyone's feet yet.
we might need to announce.
But yeah. That's me.
Okay, sweet. What's the? Okay, I think this one is a good one to answer quickly. How do you guys avoid burnout? Is there like is it making sure you're not by yourself? Is it collaborating with your friends, community? How do you guys manage your workload and stress? Or do you not?
I do not.
So I really think a lot of people who suffer from burnout, it really can, like, I don't want to say it's not a legit thing, but it can really be a mentality thing. Like, if you really change your mindset about what you're doing, or change what you're doing to be something that you're really, truly passionate about, I tend to realize I don't have that same level of fatigue. Like, I can easily work all day and not feel exhausted, not feel stressed or burnt out at all, if it's something I love doing. But also at the same time, it's about, especially if you work freelance like I do, it's about just knowing how to look after yourself. Investing in yourself is, like, as an artist, as a creative, yourself is, you are the product. You are the most valuable part to your business. So it's about, like, taking care of yourself, making sure you're eating well, exercising. And yeah, like, I've only been following this kind of advice for a couple of years now, and I've not experienced burnout since.
Yeah, I think I've definitely been burnt out a couple of times over the past few years because, again, when you work for yourself, and I think particularly in the influencer space, it's so much about being seen all the time, being seen to be doing things, being at that event, so I really had to learn how to say no to a lot of things, because it's about thinking that those opportunities, kind of like what you were just saying, those opportunities the right things will always come your way. So yeah, I really had to learn how to say no, and prioritize my own rest, like you're saying, eating well, like exercising, all of those things that put me kind of like go back to like putting yourself first, has been really paramount, because yeah, otherwise I will not be able to do anything, and I'll just lie on my bedroom floor and cry.
That's what I did, lie down on my bedroom and cry. That's the one way I relax. Sometimes, like, you just need a little bit moment to cry, you know?
A strategic cry. Strategic cry.
Yeah, you just need to cry. Like, let the tears out. Like, there's no shame to cry. But you don't cry a lot, you know? That's going to be a little bit too exhausted. So what I did is actually, like, you know, working in the influencer industry is a little bit like tricky, because sometimes there's a good day, sometimes there's a bad day, and it's just easily to get burnout. But actually, I quite agree with Ray, which is like, if you found this is the industry for your passion, you're actually not going to easily to feel burnout. That's why I made my colleagues thinking I'm a little bit workaholic, but it is not my problem, because that's my passion. And one way I actually really enjoy to basically I think this is that mindset when I'm like working or whatever, is about like I'm using techniques. So when I'm working, my whole brain is only focused on work. But when I actually not working, I block my time just for myself. Even for 3 hours crying, I will block my time for crying. Because like if you come to like time management or whatever, like the best way to basically avoid any burnout is like manage your time like correctly and sustainable. And especially like you're working freelance or you're working in this kind of very hectic industry, especially for creative industry, there's a lot of rejection. Like you have to fail, you have to make mistakes, and you have to like receive lots of rejection. So after that, you will realize that like, oh, I'm actually not good enough. Then what should I do? Cry? Yeah, go for crying. It's fine.
Go for it.
But at the meantime, after that, how you need to recover yourself, how you need to focus on like what kind of things you need to build up for yourself to achieve certain amount of goals, right? So in this case, like let burnout happen. When there's a moment for you to cry, just cry. When there's a moment for you to relax, like even people watching, grab a coffee, blank street, yeah, and just go do people watching, like enjoying. Even the weather is not the best, but I know it's London, so just enjoy some like mini small stuff in the life, because life is worth living. So get yourself out, enjoy some nature, wherever. There's no burnout, because you can balance yourself the time, you know. Yeah, thank you.
My honest answer is sleep, but my motivational answer is you can just touch grass and be present with. As in, like I really like being in a career where social media is heavily involved in it. It's really hard to shut off, to be honest. So with that being my double-edged sword in a sense, just being able to turn off my social media, especially with all the trolls that exist in this world, just be outside. Be able to like ring up one of your mates, even your mom or dad, my brother, for example. I just end up going outside with them and being able to meet up with them. And really, yeah, just being able to kind of just recharge that social battery, or kind of just like what drains you, and just go back where you left off.
Amazing.